everybody. This is Marcus from Veritas Immigration Law. We are an immigration-only law firm located in Southern Florida. We specialize in E2 treaty investor visas for individuals who are coming from treaty countries to the United States to develop and direct their businesses. We help you move your life, your business, and your family here to the United States. Today, we're going to be jumping into episode number 3 of our question and answer session. I won't elaborate too much more here in the introduction, so let's just jump into the first question. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. The first question says, I'm thinking of getting my E2, but still not sure of moving from Canada. What is the advantage of living in the US in your opinion? Well, that's a great question, and if you're asking for my opinion, I think the United States is still the best place in the world for somebody to come, especially if you're thinking of getting an E2. That means that you have a business or you have a business idea. And the United States, I think, provides the best environment for you to bring your idea, your business idea, and to build it into whatever you want. Okay, there's the economic environment here. It's a marketplace, right? It's a capitalistic marketplace. And you are welcome to bring your idea into our marketplace and try to sell it. And if you are successful at that, you can make a lot of money and you can build a really good life for yourself. I think that is the major advantage of the US environment. And that's why the E2 is a super popular and powerful option for people who want to come to the US, but who, they're not a citizen or a resident here, or they don't have any other family here. The E2 provides that opportunity for you to come here, build your brand, build your idea, your dreams from scratch. You can come here with nothing. And, you have to invest, a little bit of money into your business, but it really doesn't take a lot. You can come here and build your idea into your dream. And that's what we try to emphasize here for people is this is an opportunity for you to come and do what you want to do and get wealthy. And we'll help you do all that. You know, so how long does it take? How long does it take to get an employer-sponsored green card while being on E2? I'd say it takes about 2 years right now, maybe even longer. If you're here on an E2, and your goal is to get permanent residency, um, an employer-sponsored green card is a possibility for you. Um, but it does take a while. There's a lot of hoops to go through. That's a very kind of sophisticated process that you need to go through, or that your future employer would need to go through on your behalf. But it's probably going to take about 2 years. And depending on what country you're from, there's different wait times. There's different backlogs in different categories of in different countries. So I'm saying 2 years, but I'm just saying that kind of as an average, I guess. It's going to depend on where you're from and just what the circumstances that you have. So that's not a quick process, unfortunately. Can I start a tech business that qualifies for an E2 visa? Yes, of course. The E2 visa is super flexible. There's really no restriction on the type of business that you can start. That's one of the great things about it. Hello, just a quick question regarding partnership. If I am buying a business with a US citizen, how much percentage loan will be allowed in the investment so I am still eligible for E2? We both will be owing 50% each. Okay. Couple things here. The first is your your The first thing is I can't tell you how much percentage loan will be allowed in the investment because uh, there's a lot of information that I don't know about this business, but also uh, I just want to be super clear. The regulations don't state a specific dollar amount or percentage of a loan or whatever that you have to invest, right? This is a proportionality test. It's a substantial investment test that we have to look at. Um, and so I can't tell you how much percentage of the loan because I don't know how much the loan is. I don't know how much the business costs. So I don't know the answer to that. But there's a couple things that I want to say. So it looks like your partner is a US citizen. If that's the case, we need to be careful in the way that this is being set up because it needs to be super clear that you are the one who is developing and directing the business. You have to be in control of this business. If it looks like the US citizen is more in control and you're just kind of um, using him to get a loan or something like that, this may not be a strong E2 case. This needs to be your business and it needs to be, or let me rephrase that. It needs to be clear that you're the one who's in control. You have to be the one who's developing and directing the business in order to get an E2 visa. So if you're both going to be owing 50% each, um, you need to be putting in a very substantial investment, in my opinion, because you need to show that you're the one who's investing primarily into this business. And although the E2 regulations are clear that you have to be at least a 50% owner. In a situation like this, I'd probably recommend that you own more than that if possible, at least 51, if not more. Um, Another thing to consider when your partner is a US citizen, and this is something that I'm not an expert on, um, is taxes. What are the tax implications that might come into play if your partner is a US citizen and you're not? Um, I would have to direct you to an accountant for that or to a tax lawyer because that's something that I would definitely, if I was you, I would definitely want to get super clear about what the taxation implications of that might be if your partner is a U.S. citizen. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Again, just make sure that this is being set up so that it's clear that you're the one who's developing and directing and is in control of the business. Okay, next one. I plan to purchase a business with a U.S. citizen partner. I can pay 25% of the purchase price in cash with a down payment, then get a bank loan for the remaining 75% of the purchase price. We've been talking to the bank about the loan and getting and putting it in my partner's name, but the bank does not seem friendly to put my name on it. What is the best way to handle this? My contribution for the down payment will be about $100,000 to purchase a store with three existing employees. Okay, let's see. So similar to the last question, here we have a business partner who's a U.S. citizen. So I guess I would just repeat what I said before about getting clear about the tax implications when your business partner is a U.S. citizen. Um, as far as the rest of this goes, let's see. So let me talk about the loan first. So I guess I'm not super surprised that the bank won't give you a loan because probably it's because you don't have a social security number, right? You don't have um, status here right now, and you don't have the social security number to get the loan, and you probably don't. Yeah, that's normal. I'm not surprised to that you're telling me that. Um, so Okay, so it says you can pay 25% of the purchase price with the down payment, which is $100,000. Um, so if I'm doing the math right, that would mean that the business costs $400,000, right? Because if your contribution is 100 and that's 25% of the purchase price, I think that's $400,000. So that means that you're able to invest $100,000 into a $400,000 business. I don't think that's substantial. I think you need to increase your investment a bit, you know, up to, I don't know if that's possible for you, but I don't think that's enough of an investment. And if you can't get the bank loan, or if you can't get a U.S. bank to loan you money, maybe you can get uh, where's this person from? I don't know. You might be able to get a loan in your home country. That's fine. Or you might be able to get a loan from a friend, borrow some money. Um, that's okay. So if you can't get a loan from a U.S. bank, I think that's not the end of the world. There's still other ways you can get access to capital. Um, or if your U.S. citizen partner can get a loan, um, maybe you guys can execute a promissory note between yourselves where you would, owe him essentially you get take out a loan from him and then you owe money to your partner. Um, that's I guess that could be a possibility. Um, so there's a few different things you can do here. I think this is fixable, but I think $100,000 for a $400,000 business with three employees is probably not going to be substantial. I think you need to increase your investment, and if you can decrease your loan, that's better. Keep it, just remember that your loan can't be secured with the assets of the business. The source of all your investment has to come from, a lawful source. So um, just make sure that your loan is secured personally and that the source is lawful. Um, and I think that's something that can be fixed. But as you're explaining this to me right now, I think that that's not going to be uh, that's I'm not confident that that's going to be approvable. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Hi, I am a Canadian citizen and looking for E2 visa business in Georgia. Any reference for business loan? Can I get business loan based on Canadian credit score? Should I go for Canadian or US banks? I'll say the same thing as the previous question. I don't think too many banks here in the United States would give you a loan because you don't have social security number here in the United States. So I don't think the bank would consider your Canadian credit score. But it's okay because you can get a loan back in Canada, or like I said before, you can borrow funds or take a loan from a friend. Um, as long as the source of the funds is lawful and the loan is not secured by the assets of the business, you should be fine. By the way, I, let me just say something, just kind of aside from all the legal stuff here. Um, so depending on the kind of business that you're, starting, I really don't recommend, if it's possible, don't take out a loan to start your business because obviously everyone's situation is different. But a lot of times, starting a business doesn't require as much money as you might think, unless you're purchasing an existing business. But if you're looking to start a new business, I don't recommend you take out a loan just on a personal level because you're starting off your business in debt right away, and you don't know how things are going to go. And when you take out a loan, the only thing that's guaranteed is that you're going to have to pay back the loan. So I just, if it's at all possible and feasible for you, for anybody out there, this might not be applicable to this particular person if they're purchasing an existing business, for example. But I just don't like to take out loans personal on a personal level, right? Because you're in debt, and when you're in debt, that creates stress, and you got to pay it back. And so you're starting off your business venture in debt, and that is not a good way to start, in my opinion. So if there's some other way for you to get the capital, that's, you know, again, I know this is hard for a lot of people, but if there's some other way that you can do this without going to a bank and getting a loan, I would recommend that. But if you do need to do that, just make sure that the loan's not secured by the assets of your business. And I don't think a US bank is going to give you a loan because you don't have a social security number here. Okay, let's go to the next one. I am Bolivian and want to apply for an E2 visa. I know I'm not eligible for it, but I will be acquiring Spanish citizenship through my husband. Can I apply for E2? I think so. Yes. If you're going to be acquiring, actually, this is interesting. Um, so you're acquiring treaty country citizenship through marriage. Um, so I think the answer is yes. I think you can apply for the E2. You may need to be residing in Spain. If you're going to be applying for an E2 as a Spanish citizen, the the embassy there may require that you be residing in Spain for some time, um, maybe for a month or 2 months, something like that, just to show that you have residence there. Um, but I think that's fine. I think you'll be okay. Um, the reason I'm kind of thinking about this in my head is because sometimes people who don't have treaty country citizenship, but who want to apply for an E2, will acquire citizenship through investment. There's some countries like Turkey, for example, that you can invest in the country and they'll give you citizenship. And when people do that, you have to you have to be residing in that new country for a certain amount of time. I think it's 3 years before you can apply for the E2. But if you acquire your citizenship in the treaty country through marriage, I don't think that that rule is going to apply, and I think you would be able to just go ahead and apply for your E2 based on your new nationality without having to wait um, for 3 years. So I think that's going to work out just fine. Another option that you could do is just have your husband apply for the E2. So then you don't have to wait until you get your Spanish citizenship. Your husband could apply for the E2, and then you could come with him as an E2 spouse. So that's another option. Um, but that's interesting. I think that would work out just fine. I am in the US on an E2 visa, and the business is doing well. I'm also a licensed physical therapist and want to know if I can work part-time as a physical therapist to earn additional money. This would be separate and apart from my E2 business. And the answer is no. You can't do that, unfortunately. That is one of the restrictions of the E2 visa. You're only authorized to work on your E2 business. You won't be able to work part-time for another employer. You could volunteer, but you wouldn't be able to be earning wages um, from another employer. I want to apply for the E2 visa by purchasing an existing company. The purchase price is 350,000. I can give a down payment of 100 and the seller would finance the rest, 250,000. I have two questions. Are the consulates issuing E2 visas? Is it okay that the purchase is financed by the seller? I mean, I will put 100,000 down and the rest will be paid in 2 or 3 years. Is that okay? Thank you. Okay. So so let's just look at number one. It says, are the consulates issuing E2 visas? Um, I don't know what consulate you would be working through, but generally the answer is yes, they are. Um, that just would depend on what your nationality is and what consulate you'd be processing through. Um, the other thing I'm looking at here is I don't think that what you are explaining is going to be considered a substantial investment because the purchase price is 350 and your investment is 100. I don't think that's enough. I think you need to put more um, in order for it to be considered substantial. As far as the seller financing setup, that's possible and that's okay. It's something you need to be really careful about. This can be a really iffy type of situation. You want to make sure that, so just to be super clear, so seller financing is when the purchase price is going to be financed by the person who's selling you the business. It's going to be a promissory note with interest and however much you owe, which looks like it's going to be 250,000. You got to make sure that that's not secured by the assets of the business. Okay, it's got to be a personally secured uh, note. So that's the first thing. The other thing is I think you don't want it to be too much, right? So for example, if you were financing 100% seller finance, that definitely would not work. In this case, you're putting down 100,000 and you're financing 250,000. I think that's too much and your down payment is too small. I think you need to invest more and finance less from the seller to make this more doable. Um, you know, I think this can work, but I just think you need to change the nature of your investment a little bit and be really careful with the seller financing promissory note. That's something that we would want to look at very carefully if we were representing. Hi, can I from Canada establish my E2 enterprise in the US Virgin Islands? How about Puerto Rico? Please let me know what you think. And the answer is yes. If my business changes, do I need a new E2 visa? I filed for a substantial change with USCIS, but my visa is for my old previous business. Um, Eventually, I would recommend yes. So if you're filing for a change with USCIS, obviously that means you're filing for a change of status and you won't receive a new E2 visa with that change of status. So if you want a new E2 visa, then you would have to go back to your home country and apply for that. You can wait until USCIS approves your change and then go back to the embassy and reapply. That might be the best thing to do at this point. As far as your old visa goes, that will uh, that will remain valid, and you can still use that to travel if you need to until it expires. I don't think you'll have any problems with that, even after you change with USCIS. I think that'll be fine. But if USCIS approves your change of status, I do recommend that you get a new E2 visa. I came to the US on my E2. My business was a hookah lounge, but I'm changing my business to printing and selling t-shirts. Do I need a new E2 visa? Absolutely. That is too big of a change. That's definitely going to be considered a substantial change. And you're going to need a new E2 visa. Yes. So um, you can apply for a change of status or you can apply for a new E2 visa through the consulate. But yeah, that's if your hookah lounge isn't doing well or you're just not enjoying that business and you're going to be changing, you're going to need to redo your E2 all over again because that's too different and too much of a change to just continue on your current E2 visa. Good question. How can we lease a shop before applying and getting an E2 visa? Will they not ask valid visa for leasing? What docs they would ask? Thanks. Um, I don't think if you're going to be getting a lease that they're going to ask for your visa status. Um, wish I had a little more specific information, but I don't see that being a problem. You know, if you're going to try to go lease a shop, I you know, I don't think I don't think you need your E2 visa in order to do that. You can come here and set that up uh, without the E2. I don't see that being a big deal. Okay, what's the next one? Is that it? Okay, I guess that's the last question. Okay, thanks, guys. We will stop there, and um, I'll see you on the next question and answer session when we have it ready. Thank you.